The stars looked cold and distant in the outer edge of Vorthon space. Admiral Keth Ra stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the star maps with growing concern. For 3 weeks, his scouts had been sending strange reports. Unknown. Ships had been spotted near the border worlds, ships that did not match any design in the Vorthon military database. "Show me the reports again," Keth Ra commanded his aide. The young officer quickly brought up the data on the main screen. Blurry. Images showed sleek vessels with smooth lines and strange markings. The ships appeared and disappeared without warning. They never responded to communication attempts. They never attacked. They just watched. "Sir, the border colonies are getting nervous," the aide reported. "They want protection." Keth Ra nodded slowly. The Vorthon Empire had ruled 3 star systems for over 200 years. They had never faced a real threat from outside. Most alien species they encountered were primitive. Some had barely discovered fire, let alone space travel. The few that had developed technology were quickly defeated and absorbed into the Empire. "Prepare the 7th Fleet," Keth Ra ordered. 12 heavy cruisers and the flagship Dominator. Commander Zorvak will lead them. "Yes, sir." "What are their orders?" "Find these mystery ships. Demand they identify themselves. If they refuse, destroy them." Far away, in the depths of space, Captain June sat in his command chair aboard the Soul's Pride. The ship drifted silently through the darkness, its advanced sensors scanning everything within 50 light years. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and life support systems. "Captain," called Hana from her position at the tactical station, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the Vorthon home system." June turned to look at her. Hana was one of the best tactical officers in the Earth Defense Force. If she said something was coming, he believed her. "How many ships?" he asked. "At least 12 large vessels. They're moving fast and heading straight for this sector." June stood up and walked to the main display. The screen showed a map of local space with red dots moving toward their position. The Soul's Pride was deep in uncharted territory, conducting a long-range reconnaissance mission. Earth's government wanted to know what lay beyond the known trade routes. "Yuna, any communications from those ships?" June asked the communications officer. Yuna was a small woman with quick fingers that danced across her control panel. She listened carefully to the signals coming from space. "Nothing directed at us, Captain," she replied. "But I'm picking up internal communications from the alien fleet. They're speaking in the Vorthon language. My computer is translating it now." "What are they saying?" "They're talking about unknown intruders in their space. They have orders to investigate and destroy any unauthorized vessels." June felt a chill run down his spine. The Soul's Pride was definitely an unauthorized vessel in Vorthon space. Earth had no formal contact with the Vorthon Empire. In fact, this was the first time humans had encountered them at all. "Wook," June called to his chief engineer. "How are our systems running?" Wook looked up from his engineering station. He was a big man with steady hands and a calm personality. Nothing ever seemed to worry him. "All systems are perfect, Captain," Wook reported. "The quantum drive is running smoothly. Shields are at full power. The stealth system is working perfectly. They cannot see us unless we want them to." That was good news. The Soul's Pride was equipped with the most advanced technology Earth could build. The ship used experimental systems that had never been tested in real combat. The stealth system could make them completely invisible to most sensors. The shields could absorb incredible amounts of energy. The weapons were unlike anything Earth had ever built before. "Min," June called to his science officer, "what do you know about Vorthon technology?" Min was studying the approaching fleet. with intense concentration. She was brilliant at analyzing alien technology and finding weaknesses. Their ships are large but not very advanced, Min reported. They use old-style plasma weapons and basic energy shields. Their engines are powerful, but not very efficient. I estimate their technology is about 50 years behind ours. 50 years. June was surprised. The Vorthons controlled 3 star systems. They must have been traveling in space for a long time. Yes, sir. They have quantity but not quality. Their ships are built for intimidation, not efficiency. June considered his options. The Soul's Pride was alone, thousands of light years from Earth. The nearest human ship was at least 6 months away. If fighting started, they would be completely on their own. Captain, Yuna interrupted his thoughts. The alien fleet is slowing down. They'll reach this system in about 2 hours. Are they scanning for us? Yes, but their sensors are not very good. As long as we keep the stealth system active, they won't find us. June made his decision. Drop us out of stealth. Let them see us. The bridge crew looked at him in surprise. Hana was the first to speak. Sir, that could be dangerous. We don't know their intentions. We're here to make contact with new species, June replied. This is our chance. Besides, if they wanted to destroy everything in this system, they would have done it already. They're looking for something specific. What if they're hostile? Tay asked from the weapons station. Tay was the ship's weapons officer. He was young but extremely skilled. He could hit targets that other gunners couldn't even see. Then we'll deal with that when it happens, June said. Wook, prepare all systems for possible combat. Min, keep analyzing their ships. Hana, plot escape routes in case we need to run. Yuna, prepare a translation program for first contact. Yes, sir, they all replied together. The Soul's Pride dropped its stealth field and became visible to normal sensors. At the same time, June walked to his ready room to review everything Earth knew about first contact protocols. The next few hours would be very important for both species. In the Vorthon fleet, sensors immediately detected the appearance of the human ship. Commander Zorvac studied the readings with confusion. What kind of ship is that? He asked his science officer. Unknown design, sir. It's much smaller than our cruisers, but the energy readings are strange. I can't identify the power source. Where did it come from? It just appeared, sir. Either they have very advanced stealth technology, or they just arrived from faster-than-light travel. Zorvac felt uncomfortable. In his 20 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this ship. It looked dangerous despite its small size. Open a communication channel, he ordered. Channel open, sir. Unknown vessel. This is Commander Zorvac of the Vorthon Imperial Navy. You are in violation of Imperial space. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded. The reply came quickly in perfect Vorthon language. Commander Zorvac, this is Captain June of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride. We come in peace and seek diplomatic contact with your people. Zorvac was shocked. Earth? He had never heard of such a place. And how did they learn the Vorthon language so quickly? Earth is not in our database, Zorvac replied. State your planet of origin and your business in Imperial space. Earth is our home world, located about 40 light years from here. We are exploring this region of space and establishing peaceful contact with other intelligent species. This was getting worse. If these aliens had colonies 40 light years away, that meant they controlled territory the Vorthons didn't even know about. How was that possible? Zorvac decided to show strength. You will surrender your vessel immediately. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. There was a long pause before the human captain replied, I'm afraid we cannot do that, Commander. However, we would be happy to arrange a peaceful meeting between our governments. Zorvok felt his anger rising. No one refused orders from the Vorthon Imperial Navy. You have 1 hour to comply, he warned. After that, we will take your ship by force. The communication ended. Zorvok turned to his weapons officer. Prepare for battle, he commanded. The Vorthon fleet moved into the Kepler 4042 system like a pack of metal wolves. 12 massive cruisers spread out in attack formation, their dark hulls bristling with weapon ports. At the center flew the flagship Dominator, twice the size of the other ships and covered in armor plating. Commander Zorvok stood on the bridge of the Dominator, watching the single human ship on his main screen. The vessel called Soul's Pride looked nothing like any ship in the Vorthon database. Where Vorthon ships were blocky and intimidating, this one was smooth and elegant. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Report, Zorvok demanded from his tactical officer. The alien ship is holding position, sir. No weapons are powered up. No shields are raised. They appear to be completely defenseless. Zorvok frowned. That seemed too easy. What about their size? Much smaller than our cruisers, sir. Maybe 1/4. The mass of our smallest ship. And they think one tiny ship can stand against the entire 7th Fleet? Zorvok laughed harshly. These humans must be either very brave or very stupid. On the Soul's Pride, Captain June watched the Vorthon formation through his view screen. The alien ships looked exactly like what Min had predicted. Big, heavily armed, and built to frighten enemies into surrender. Impressive display, Hana commented from her tactical station. 12 against 1. They really want to make a point. Can you analyze their formation? June asked. Already done, sir. It's a standard intimidation pattern. Maximum visual impact, but poor tactical positioning. If this was a real battle, they would lose half their ships in the first few minutes. June nodded. Hana had studied every major battle in recorded history. If she said the Vorthon formation was weak, he believed her. Yuna, open a channel to the Vorthon flagship, he ordered. Channel open, Captain. June stood up and faced the main screen. He wanted to make a good impression for humanity's first contact. With the Vorthon Empire. Commander Zorvok, thank you for agreeing to talk. I hope we can resolve this situation peacefully. The Vorthon commander appeared on screen. He was tall and thin with gray skin and bright yellow eyes. His uniform was covered in military decorations and symbols of rank. There is nothing to resolve, Zorvok replied coldly. You will surrender your ship or be destroyed. Those are your only options. I understand your concern about unauthorized ships in your space, June said calmly. However, we had no way to request permission since we didn't. Know your empire existed until today. Earth seeks only peaceful relations with all intelligent species. Earth again, Zorvok muttered. Where exactly is this Earth? Our star charts show no inhabited systems in this region. Earth is located in what you probably call the Sol system. We have established colonies on 12 worlds in that area, including several in this direction. Zorvok felt a chill run down his spine. 12 colonies. How was that possible? Vorthon intelligence had mapped this entire region years ago. There had been no signs of advanced civilization anywhere. That is impossible, he said. Our scouts have surveyed those systems. They were empty. Perhaps your scouts missed our settlements, June suggested politely. Human technology focuses on efficiency rather than size. Our colonies might not show up on long-range sensors. This was getting worse by the minute. If humans had established colonies without the Vorthons knowing about it, what else were they hiding? And how had they developed space travel technology? Without anyone noticing? "Show me proof," Zorvak demanded. "Show me these colonies you claim to have." June looked at Min, who nodded and began working at her station. "I'm transmitting astronomical data from our home system," Min announced. "This includes star charts, planetary information, and communication logs from our colonies." The data appeared on the Vorthan screens immediately. Zorvak's science officer studied it with growing amazement. "Sir, this information is incredibly detailed," the science officer reported. "It shows industrial activity on multiple worlds, space stations, mining operations, even terraforming projects. If this is real, these humans have a much larger presence than we thought." "How large?" Zorvak asked. "Based on this data, they might control as much territory as we do." Zorvak stared at the human captain in disbelief. An unknown alien species, with technology advanced enough to hide entire colonies from Vorthon sensors. This was supposed to be a simple patrol mission to deal with primitive raiders. "Commander," June continued, "I want to emphasize that Earth has no hostile intentions toward your empire. We are explorers, not conquerors. We believe the galaxy is large enough for many different species to coexist peacefully. Peaceful coexistence requires respect for established boundaries," Zorvak replied. "You have violated Imperial space without permission. That is an act of war. We were conducting scientific research in what we believe to be unoccupied space," June explained. "If we had known this was your territory, we would have requested permission first." "Ignorance is not an excuse. The law is clear." June sighed. This was not going well. He had hoped the Vorthons would be reasonable once they understood the situation. Instead, they seemed determined to treat this as a military matter. "What would it take to resolve this peacefully?" he asked. "Surrender your ship and crew for interrogation. Submit to Imperial authority. Reveal the location of all human colonies and military installations." "I'm afraid that's not possible, Commander. I have no authority to surrender Earth's sovereignty to anyone." "Then you choose war," Zorvak said grimly. "I choose to defend my ship and crew," June corrected. "But the choice of war or peace is still yours to make." Zorvak ended the communication and turned to his weapons officer. "Power up all weapons. Target their engines and weapon systems. I want them disabled, not destroyed. We need information." "About their technology and their colonies." "Yes, sir. Weapons are charging now." On the Soul's Pride, Yuna monitored the Vorthon communications. "Captain, they're preparing to attack," she reported. "I'm detecting massive energy buildup in their weapon systems." June looked around at his bridge crew. These were some of the best officers in the Earth Defense Force. They had trained for years for a situation like this. "Wook, how are our systems?" he asked. "All systems are perfect, Captain. Shields are at maximum power. Weapons are ready. The quantum drive can get us out of here in 30 seconds if needed. Min, final analysis of their capabilities? Their weapons are powerful but primitive. Plasma cannons with poor targeting systems. Their shields are basic energy barriers. Their ships are slow and clumsy compared to ours. Hana, tactical assessment? We can outrun them easily. We can outfight them if necessary. But engaging 12. Ships will use a lot of power and might damage our stealth systems. Tay, weapon status? All weapons are online and ready, Captain. Quantum torpedoes, plasma lances, and gravity disruptors. We could disable their entire fleet if you give the order." June considered his options. He could run away and avoid the fight entirely. But that would leave the Vorthans thinking humans, were weak and cowardly. It might encourage them to attack human colonies later. He could try to disable just one or two ships to show Earth's power without causing too much damage. But that might not be enough to convince them to negotiate seriously, or he could follow Earth Defense Force regulations for dealing with hostile alien forces. The regulations were very clear about what to do when peaceful contact failed. Yuna, record a message for transmission to Earth Command, June ordered. Tell them we have made contact with the Vorthon Empire. Initial diplomatic efforts have failed. We are now engaged in defensive operations according to Regulation 77 Alpha. Message recorded and transmitted, Captain. All stations. Prepare for combat, June announced. This is not the first contact we hoped for, but we will show these aliens what happens when they threaten human lives. The bridge crew worked quickly and efficiently. Warning lights began flashing as the ship's combat systems came online. The Soul's Pride might be alone and outnumbered, but it was far from helpless. Sir, Hana reported, the Vorthon ships are moving into attack position. They'll be in firing range in 2 minutes. Very well, June replied. Let's show them what human technology can do. The space around the Soul's Pride filled with the dark shapes of Vorthon warships. Commander Zorvac had arranged his fleet in a perfect attack formation designed to intimidate any enemy into immediate surrender. The massive ships moved slowly, but steadily toward the single human vessel, their weapon ports glowing with barely contained energy. Human ship. Zorvac's voice echoed across all communication channels. You have 30 seconds to lower your shields and prepare for boarding. This is your final warning. Captain June stood calmly on his bridge, watching the approaching fleet. On the main screen, each Vorthon cruiser was at least 4 times the size of the Soul's Pride. Their hulls were covered in thick armor plating and bristling with weapon turrets. To any reasonable observer, the outcome of this confrontation should be obvious. Impressive ships, June commented to his crew. They certainly know how to make a statement. Their formation is textbook intimidation tactics, Hana observed from her tactical station. Maximum visual impact, psychological pressure, overwhelming force display. It probably works on most species. But not on humans? June asked with a slight smile. Humans have a history of fighting impossible odds, Hana replied. Remember the Battle of Thermopylae. 300 Spartans against thousands of Persians. How did that battle end? Min asked curiously. The Spartans died, Hana admitted. But they proved that numbers aren't everything. And we have some advantages. The Spartans didn't. Yuna looked up from her communications station. Captain, I'm monitoring their internal communications. The Vorthon commanders are confident this will be over quickly. They're already discussing how to divide up our technology. What about their crews? June asked. Mixed reactions. Some are excited about fighting an unknown enemy. Others are nervous because they don't know what we're capable of. Smart ones, Wook commented from his engineering station. Fear of the unknown is a survival instinct. The 30 seconds passed in tense silence. When no response came from the Soul's Pride, Commander Zorvac activated the fleet-wide communication system. Human vessel, you have refused our generous offer of surrender. You are now considered an enemy of the Vorthon Empire. Prepare to face the consequences of your foolish decision. The Vorthon ships began spreading out into a wider attack formation, their weapon systems powered up to full charge, casting an eerie glow across their hulls. Energy readings spiked as plasma cannons and particle beams prepared to fire. They're really going to do it, Tay said from the weapons station. 12 ships against 1. They must think we're completely helpless. Maybe we should correct that impression, June replied. Wook, status report on our systems. All systems are running perfectly, Captain, Wook reported. The fusion reactor is operating at optimal efficiency. Shields are charged to maximum. The quantum drive is ready for emergency jump if needed. And our weapons... He paused dramatically. Our weapons are eager to introduce themselves to the Vorthans. Min. Any. Changes in their technology assessment? Min studied her sensor readings carefully. No changes, Captain. Their ships are exactly what they appear to be. Large, heavily armed, but technologically primitive. Their plasma weapons are powerful but slow. Their shields are basic energy, barriers with no adaptive capability. Their targeting systems rely on simple computer programs with no artificial intelligence. Primitive but dangerous, Hana added. Those plasma cannons could destroy a city if they hit an undefended target. Good. Thing we're not undefended, June said. Yuna, open a channel to the Vortan flagship. Channel open, Captain. June faced the main screen as Commander Zorvak's image appeared. The alien commander looked confident and slightly amused, as if he was about to swat a troublesome insect. Commander, June began, I want to give you one last chance to reconsider. Earth doesn't want war with your empire. We came here seeking peaceful contact and scientific exchange. This conflict is unnecessary. The time for talk has ended, Zorvak replied coldly. You have violated Imperial space and refused to submit to Imperial authority. The penalty for such crimes is death or slavery. Since you have chosen to resist, you will receive death. And if I told you that this ship alone could destroy your entire fleet? Zorvak laughed harshly. Then I would say you are either delusional or lying. No single ship could stand against the might of the Imperial Navy. You're absolutely certain of that? Completely certain. You will surrender now or be destroyed. There are no other options. June sighed sadly. Then you leave me no choice. I hope your people will be wiser than you are. He ended the communication and turned to his crew. Every officer on the bridge looked calm and professional. They had trained for this moment for years, but none of them had expected their first real combat to be against an entire alien fleet. Orders, Captain? Hana asked. June looked at each of his officers in turn. These people had volunteered to explore the unknown regions of space, knowing they might never return home. They trusted him to make the right decisions for humanity and for the future of interstellar relations. The Vorthans have made their choice, he said quietly. They want to see what human technology can do in combat. I think it's time we showed them. Hana, analyze their formation and find the best attack pattern. Min, prepare countermeasures for their weapons. Wook, maximize power to all combat systems. Tay, arm all weapons but wait for my command. Yuna, record everything for the historical archive. Yes, sir, they all replied. The Soul's Pride hung motionless in space as the Vorthan fleet completed its attack formation. The alien ships had arranged themselves in a sphere around the human vessel with overlapping fields of fire that would make escape impossible. It was a formation designed for the complete destruction of the target. Sir, Hana reported, I'm reading massive energy spikes from all 12 ships. They're about to open fire. Let them, June replied calmly. It's time they learned the difference between technology and advanced technology. On the Vorthan flagship, Commander Zorvak gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships, open fire. Destroy the human vessel. The space around the Soul's Pride exploded into brilliant light as 12 Vorthan cruisers fired their most powerful weapons simultaneously. Plasma cannons, particle beams and fusion missiles converged on the human ship from every direction. The energy release was so intense that it created a miniature star, blazing with the power of a dozen suns. Direct hits on all targets, the Vorthon tactical officer reported. Energy readings are off the scale. Nothing could survive that bombardment. Commander Zorvac nodded with satisfaction. Signal all ships to cease fire. Dispatch recovery teams to collect any useful wreckage. The brilliant light began to fade, revealing the empty space where the Soul's Pride had been. For a moment it seemed the battle was over before it had truly begun. Then the last of the energy dissipated, and the impossible became visible. The Soul's Pride hung in space exactly where it had been before the attack. Its hull showed no damage, its shields glowed softly with absorbed energy, and its weapon ports were beginning to glow with a light that had never been seen in Vorthon space. "Impossible," Zorvac whispered. On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Captain June smiled grimly. "Wook, how much energy did we absorb from that attack?" "About 30% of our maximum storage capacity, Captain. Our shields converted their plasma directly into usable power." "Excellent. Tay, are you ready to return fire?" "More than ready, sir." "Then let's show them what happens when someone threatens humanity." The silence that followed the failed Vorthon attack lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the space around the Soul's Pride erupted in chaos as the human ship began to move. Commander Zorvac stared at his main screen in disbelief. The human vessel had just absorbed the combined firepower of 12 heavy cruisers without taking any visible damage. Every weapon in the Vorthon arsenal had been fired at maximum power, creating an energy blast that should have vaporized a small moon. "Report!" he shouted at his tactical officer. "Sir, all our weapons hit the target directly. Energy readings showed complete saturation of the target area. But somehow their ship is completely undamaged. How is that possible?" "Unknown, sir. Their shielding technology appears to be far more advanced than anything in our database." On the Soul's Pride, Captain June watched the Vorthon fleet with calm satisfaction. The alien ships were hanging motionless in space, apparently stunned by the failure of their attack. "Wook, how did our shields perform?" he asked. "Perfectly, Captain," Wook replied with obvious pride. "The adaptive shield matrix absorbed 98% of their energy and converted it directly to power. We're actually stronger now than when the battle started." "Any damage to the ship?" "None whatsoever. Their weapons couldn't even scratch our hull plating." June nodded. Earth's defensive technology had been tested in combat for the first time, and it had performed exactly as designed. The Soul's Pride used a revolutionary shield system that didn't just block enemy attacks, it absorbed them and turned them into useful energy. "Hana, tactical analysis?" "The Vorthon ships are in complete disarray," Hana reported. "Their formation has collapsed. Their commanders are sending confused messages to each other. They don't understand what just happened." "Perfect. Tai, select your first target." Tay studied his weapons display carefully. As the ship's weapons officer, he had trained for years to use Earth's most advanced combat systems. The Soul's Pride carried weapons that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. "Target selected, Captain. The cruiser designated Vorthon 7. It's positioned on the outer edge of their formation with poor shield coverage." "What weapon will you use?" "Quantum. Torpedo, sir. Clean and efficient." June approved. Quantum torpedoes were Earth's most sophisticated weapon. They used advanced physics to phase through normal matter and energy shields, making them nearly impossible to defend against. "Fire when ready." Tay pressed the firing control with steady hands. A small projectile launched from the Soul's Pride, moving at incredible speed toward the target Vorthon ship. To the alien sensors, it looked like a simple missile that could be easily intercepted or blocked. Commander Zorvak saw the human weapon approaching on his tactical display. "Intercept that missile," he ordered. "Yes, sir. Point defense systems are engaging." The Vorthon cruiser fired dozens of small laser weapons at the approaching torpedo. The beams passed harmlessly through the quantum projectile as if it didn't exist. "Sir, our weapons aren't hitting it." "Impossible. Increase firepower." More weapons fired at the torpedo, but nothing could touch it. The quantum projectile phased through matter and energy like a ghost, following its programmed course toward, the target ship. "Raise shields to maximum." "Shields are already at maximum, sir." The torpedo reached the Vorthon cruiser and passed through its shields without slowing down. It penetrated the hull armor as if it were empty space and reached the ship's main reactor chamber. Then it exploded. The Vorthon cruiser simply ceased to exist. One moment, it was a massive warship bristling with weapons and armor. The next moment, there was only empty space and a cloud of rapidly expanding particles. "What happened?" Commander Zorvak demanded. "Vorthon 7 has been destroyed, sir. Complete molecular dissolution. There's nothing left but basic atoms." "One torpedo did that?" "Apparently, sir. The remaining 11 Vorthon ships opened fire, desperately, pouring every weapon they had at the Soul's Pride. Plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion missiles, and energy lances all struck the human ship simultaneously. The energy release was even greater than the first attack. Once again, the Soul's Pride absorbed every blast without taking damage. "Sir," Wook reported, "we're now at 60% power capacity. If they keep this up, we'll have more energy. Then we know what to do with." "Their weapons are actually making us stronger," Min observed. "Each attack increases our power reserves." Captain June stood up from his command chair and began walking slowly around the bridge. He had hoped this confrontation could be resolved peacefully, but the Vorthans had chosen violence. Now he had to make sure they understood the consequences of that choice. "Tay, select 2 more targets." "Yes, sir." Vorthon 3 and Vorthon 11, both heavy cruisers with full weapon loadouts. Fire simultaneously. 2 more quantum torpedoes launched from the Soul's Pride. The Vorthon ships tried desperately to intercept them, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the phased projectiles. Both torpedoes reached their targets at exactly the same moment. 2 more Vorthon cruisers vanished in brilliant flashes of light. "This is impossible!" Commander Zorvak shouted. "No single ship can destroy 3 heavy cruisers." "Sir," his science officer reported in a shaking voice, "I'm analyzing the destruction pattern. Their weapons appear to cause complete atomic breakdown. They're not just destroying our ships, they're erasing them from existence." "How do we stop them?" "I don't know, sir. Our shields and armor provide no protection against this type of weapon." On the Soul's Pride, Yuna was monitoring Vorthon communications with growing concern. "Captain, they're starting to panic. Some ships are requesting permission to retreat. What's the fleet commander's response?" "He's ordering them to continue fighting, but his own crew is questioning the orders." June felt a moment of sympathy for the alien crews. They had entered this battle expecting an easy victory against a primitive enemy. Instead, they were facing technology beyond their understanding. "Hana, how much time has passed since the battle started?" 1 minute and 40 seconds, Captain. "And we've destroyed 3 of their ships?" "Yes, sir. 9 ships remaining." June made his decision. The Vorthons needed to understand that continuing this fight would only lead to more destruction. Yuna, open a channel to the Vorthon flagship. Channel open, Captain. Commander Zorvox. Image appeared on the main screen. The alien commander looked shaken and desperate. Commander, June said calmly, you've now seen what human weapons can do. I'm offering you one last chance to end this peacefully. Order your ships to withdraw, and no one else needs to die. This is some kind of trick, Zorvac replied, but his voice lacked conviction. No species has technology this advanced. You're wrong about that. Earth has been developing military technology for thousands of years. What you're seeing is the result of centuries of scientific progress. Your ship is too small to carry such powerful weapons. Size isn't everything, Commander. Human technology focuses on efficiency and miniaturization. We can pack more power into a single ship than you can carry in your entire fleet. Zorvox stared at the human captain in growing horror. If this was true, then the Vorthon Empire was facing an enemy far beyond their ability to defeat. What do you want from us? He asked. Nothing but peaceful coexistence. We don't want your territory or your resources. We just want to explore the galaxy and learn about other species. And if we refuse? June's expression hardened. Then you'll discover what happens when humans are forced to fight. The communication ended, leaving Commander Zorvac alone with his fears and his impossible choice. Commander Zorvac stared at the communication screen for several long seconds after the human captain's image disappeared. Around him, the bridge of the Dominator buzzed with nervous activity as his crew tried to understand what they were facing. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the human ship is moving. Moving how? They're advancing directly toward our formation. No evasive maneuvers. They're coming straight at us. Zorvac looked at the main display in disbelief. The Soul's Pride was indeed moving forward, but not like any ship he had ever seen. There was no visible engine exhaust, no energy signatures from thruster systems. The human vessel glided through space as smoothly as a fish swimming through water. How fast are they moving? Increasing speed rapidly, sir. They'll reach optimal. Firing range in 30 seconds. All ships, prepare for close combat, Zorvac commanded. Concentrate all firepower on the human vessel. If we can't destroy it with long-range weapons, maybe we can overwhelm it at short range. On the Soul's Pride, Captain June watched the Vorthon ships repositioning themselves for another attack. The alien vessels were clumsy and slow compared to his ship, but they still had numerical superiority. Tay, are you ready for rapid engagement? He asked. Yes, sir. I've selected multiple targeting solutions. We can eliminate 4 ships in the next attack wave. 4 ships? June raised an eyebrow. That's ambitious. Our quantum torpedo system has been upgraded since the last test, Captain. We can now fire multiple projectiles simultaneously with independent targeting. Show me. Tay activated his weapons display on the main screen. The tactical system showed the positions of all 9 remaining Vorthon ships, with targeting solutions calculated for each vessel. The computer has analyzed their formation and found the optimal attack pattern. If we fire now, we can hit 4 ships before they have time to react. Do it! Tay's hands moved across his control panel with practiced efficiency. 4 quantum torpedoes launched from the Soul's Pride simultaneously, each one following a different trajectory toward its assigned target. The Vorthon ships detected the incoming weapons and opened fire with everything they had. Hundreds of laser beams and plasma bolts filled the space between the fleets, trying desperately to intercept the human projectiles. But quantum torpedoes couldn't be stopped by conventional weapons. They phased through matter and energy as if The Vorthon defenses didn't exist. Commander Zorvak watched in horror as 4 of his remaining cruisers vanished in simultaneous explosions. The ships didn't just explode, they seemed to dissolve at the atomic level, leaving nothing behind but clouds of basic particles. "Report!" he shouted. "Vorthon 2, Vorthon 6, Vorthon 9, and Vorthon 12 have been destroyed, sir. Complete. Molecular breakdown in all cases." "How many ships do we have left?" 5 ships remaining, sir, including the flagship. In less than 3 minutes, the human vessel had destroyed 7 Vorthon cruisers. 7 ships that represented decades of construction time and thousands of trained crew members. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving surrender requests from Vorthon 4 and Vorthon 8. Their commanders want permission to retreat." "Denied! We are the Vorthon Imperial Navy. We do not retreat from a single enemy ship." But even as he spoke the words, Zorvak could see the fear in his crew's eyes. They were facing an enemy that could destroy their most powerful ships with ease. Continuing to fight seemed like suicide. On the Soul's Pride, Yuna monitored the increasingly panicked communications from the Vorthon fleet. "Captain, their morale is collapsing. Several ships are reporting equipment failures and requesting permission to withdraw." "Equipment failures?" June asked. "Probably not real failures," Hana explained. "More likely their crews are sabotaging their own systems to avoid fighting us." "Smart crews," Min commented. "They can see what we're capable of." Captain June felt no satisfaction in the destruction of the Vorthon ships. Each vessel that had been destroyed had contained hundreds of living beings, but the Vorthans had chosen this path despite repeated warnings. "Wook, how are our systems performing?" "Perfectly, Captain. The shield generators are actually running cooler now because we've absorbed so much energy from their attacks. The quantum drive is ready for any maneuver you need. And our weapons—" He paused to check his readings. "Our weapons are operating at maximum efficiency." "Tay, what's our next target?" Tay studied the remaining Vorthon ships carefully. "Sir, I recommend we target their flagship. If we can disable their command ship, the rest of their fleet might surrender." "Disable, not destroy?" "Yes, sir. I can use our plasma lances instead of quantum torpedoes. They'll penetrate their shields and cause massive damage without completely destroying the ship." June considered this option. Destroying the Vorthon flagship would send a clear message about human military power. But leaving some survivors to carry that message back to their empire might be more effective than total annihilation. "Do it! Target their engines and weapons systems." The Soul's Pride fired its plasma lances for the first time in combat. These weapons were different from quantum torpedoes. Instead of causing atomic breakdown, they delivered precisely controlled bursts of superheated plasma that could slice through any known material. The plasma beams struck the Dominator with surgical precision. The flagship's main engines exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Its primary weapon systems overloaded and shut down. Its shield generators failed one by one. Commander Zorvak was thrown to the floor as his ship shuddered under the impact. "Of the human weapons! Damage report!" he shouted over the sound of alarms and emergency systems. "Main engines are destroyed, sir. Primary weapons are offline. Shield generators are failing. We're losing life support on decks 7 through 12. Can we still fight?" "Negative, sir. We're dead in space." Zorvak pulled himself back to his feet and looked at the main screen. The Soul's Pride was moving closer, its weapon ports still glowing with deadly energy. Around his disabled flagship, the 4 remaining Vorthon cruisers were backing away, their commanders apparently unwilling to continue the fight. "Sir," his communications officer reported, We're receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it on screen. Captain June's image appeared, looking calm and professional despite having just destroyed most of the Vorthan fleet. Commander Zorvak, I'm offering you and your surviving crews one final opportunity to end this conflict. Surrender now, and I guarantee safe passage back to your empire. Why should we trust you? Zorvak asked bitterly. Because if I wanted... You dead? You would already be dead. I've disabled your ship instead of destroying it. That should tell you something about human intentions. Zorvak looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was injured. His ship was powerless. The human vessel could finish him off at any moment. What are your terms? He asked reluctantly. No terms. You're free to go. Take your surviving ships and return to your empire. Tell them what you've seen here. Tell them that Earth seeks peace, but we're prepared to defend ourselves if attacked. And if we refuse? Then in about 30 seconds, you'll join your other ships in oblivion. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of damaged systems and emergency alerts. Zorvak realized he had no choice. His proud fleet had been reduced to wreckage in less than 4 minutes by a single human ship. We surrender, he said quietly. Wise choice, June replied. Repair your ship and go home, Commander. I hope our next meeting will be under better circumstances. The communication ended, leaving Zorvak alone with the bitter taste of defeat and the impossible task of explaining to his superiors how the mighty Seventh Fleet had been destroyed by one small alien vessel. On the Soul's Pride, Captain June turned to his crew. Well done, everyone. Hana, how much time did the entire engagement take? 3 minutes and 57 seconds, Captain. Just under 4 minutes to defeat an entire fleet. June mused. I hope this sends the right message to the Vorthan Empire. What message is that, sir? Yuna asked. That humanity is not to be underestimated. The space around the disabled Vorthan flagship suddenly filled with new energy signatures as the 4 surviving cruisers powered up their engines. Commander Zorvak watched from his damaged bridge as his remaining ships began moving into position for what could only be a desperate final attack. Sir, his communications officer reported, Vorthan 1 is requesting orders. Commander Veltor wants to know if they should attempt a rescue operation. Zorvak looked at the tactical display. His flagship Dominator was dead in space, its engines destroyed and weapons offline, but the 4 remaining cruisers were still functional, still armed, and still capable of fighting. Tell them to retreat, he ordered. There's no point in throwing away more lives. Sir, Commander Veltor is refusing to leave you behind. He says the Imperial Navy never abandons its own. Then he's a fool, Zorvak muttered. But part of him felt proud that his officers were willing to risk everything to save their commander. On the Soul's Pride, Hana detected the movement of the surviving Vorthan ships immediately. Captain, the remaining 4 cruisers are changing course. They're not retreating. They're moving to attack us. Captain June studied the tactical display with interest. The Vorthan ships were arranging themselves in a tight formation. All weapons pointed toward the Soul's Pride. What kind of formation is that? He asked. It's called a death charge, Hana explained. They're planning to ram us at maximum speed, using their ships as guided missiles. That's suicide. Yes, sir, but it might also be effective. If all 4 ships hit us simultaneously, even our shields might not be able to absorb that much kinetic energy. June felt a moment of respect for the Vorthan commanders. They had seen their fleet destroyed by superior technology, but they refused to give up. It was foolish, but it was also brave. Yuna. Open a channel to the lead Vorthan ship. Channel. Open, Captain. The image of a new Vorthan commander appeared on screen. This one was younger than Zorvok, with bright yellow eyes that burned with determination. "I am Commander Veltor of the cruiser Vorthan 1, the alien announced. "We demand the immediate release of our flagship." "Commander Veltor, your flagship surrendered. Your crew is free to leave whenever they repair their engines." "We do not accept defeat. The Vorthan Imperial Navy has never surrendered to any enemy." "There's always a first time," June replied calmly. "I strongly advise you to reconsider your current course of action. We will ram your ship if necessary. 4 cruisers, at maximum speed. Even your advanced shields cannot stop that much mass." June sighed. "Commander, you're about to learn why that's not a good idea." He ended the communication and turned to his weapons officer. "Tay, can you stop 4 ships moving at ramming speed?" "Not with quantum torpedoes, Captain. They're too fast and too close together. But I have another option." "Show me." Tay activated a new weapons display. "Gravity disruptor, sir. It creates a localized distortion in space-time that can redirect moving objects." "You want to use artificial gravity as a weapon?" "In a way, yes. We can create a gravity well that will pull their ships off course. Or we can create a gravity bubble that will push them away from us." "Will it destroy them?" "Not necessarily. If I calibrate it correctly, it will just change their direction. They'll end up flying past us instead of into us." June considered this option. It would demonstrate another aspect of human technology without causing unnecessary deaths. "Do it!" The 4 Vorthan cruisers accelerated to maximum speed, their engines burning bright as they raced toward the Soul's Pride. Their commanders had locked the controls and prepared for impact, determined to destroy the human ship even at the cost of their own lives. "Firing gravity disruptor," Tay announced. A strange ripple appeared in space between the Soul's Pride and the charging Vorthan ships. The ripple was invisible to normal sensors, but it created a massive distortion in the local gravity field. The lead Vorthan cruiser hit the gravity well first. Instead of continuing toward the Soul's Pride, it was suddenly yanked sideways, as if grabbed by an invisible giant hand. The ship spun wildly out of control, its crew thrown against the walls by forces they couldn't understand. The 2nd and 3rd cruisers followed moments later, both caught in the same gravity distortion. They were flung away from their target, like leaves in a hurricane tumbling helplessly through space. The 4th cruiser tried to change course at the last second, but it was too late. The gravity disruptor caught it as well, sending it spinning away from the Soul's Pride. "All 4 ships have been redirected, Captain," Tay reported. "No damage to any of them, but they're completely out of control." On the bridge of Vorthan 1, Commander Veltor picked himself up from the floor and tried to understand what had happened. "Report!" he shouted to his crew. "Sir, we've been knocked off course by some kind of gravitational anomaly. Our engines are still functional, but we're spinning too fast to navigate." "How is that possible?" "Unknown, sir. It's as if space itself grabbed our ship and threw it aside." Veltor stared at the main screen, where the Soul's Pride hung motionless and undamaged. The human ship had somehow reached out across thousands of kilometers and batted aside 4 attacking cruisers without firing a shot. "Sir," his science officer reported, "I'm reading massive gravitational distortions around the human ship. They appear to have some kind of artificial gravity control." "They can manipulate gravity?" "It appears so, sir." Veltor felt his confidence crumble. First, the humans had demonstrated weapons that could destroy matter at the atomic level. Then they had shown shields that could absorb unlimited energy. Now, they were controlling fundamental forces of nature like gravity. What kind of species had the Vorthan Empire encountered? On the Soul's Pride, Captain June watched the 4 Vorthan cruisers struggling to regain control of their ships. "Una, open a channel to all Vorthan vessels." "Channel open, Captain." "Attention, Vorthan commanders. As you can see, ramming my ship would not have been successful. Your crews are brave, but bravery alone cannot overcome superior technology." The image of Commander Veltor appeared on screen. The alien officer looked shaken and confused. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "I want you to take your ships and go home. I want you to tell your empire what you've seen here. And I want you to tell them that Earth seeks peaceful relations with all intelligent species." "You're just going to let us go?" "Yes. But first, let me show you something that I hope will prevent future conflicts." June nodded to Min, who activated the ship's long-range sensors. "I'm scanning your ships," June explained. "I'm analyzing your technology, your weapons, your armor, your shields. In about 30 seconds, I'll know everything there is to know about Vorthon military capabilities." Commander Veltor watched in growing alarm as strange energy beams swept across his ship. "Sir," his science officer reported, "they're conducting incredibly detailed scans. They're analyzing our hull composition, our computer systems, even our crew quarters." "Can we block the scans?" "No, sir. Their sensors are too advanced." "Scanning complete," June announced. "I now have complete technical specifications for every ship in your fleet. This information will be transmitted to Earth Command and shared with all human military forces." "Why are you telling us this?" "Because I want your empire to understand that hiding from humanity is impossible. Our technology can see through any deception, penetrate any defense, overcome any obstacle. If the Vorthan Empire chooses to be our enemy, we will always be one step ahead of you. And if we choose to be your ally, then we'll share some of our knowledge with you. Imagine what your empire could accomplish with human technology. Faster ships, better weapons, more efficient energy systems. The choice is yours." Commander Veltor stared at the human captain in amazement. After destroying most of the Vorthon fleet, this alien was offering technological assistance to the survivors. "I will carry your message to the Imperial Council," he promised. "See that you do. And Commander, tell them that what you've seen today is just a tiny sample of human capabilities. This ship is not even a warship by our standards. It's a science vessel conducting routine exploration." "A science vessel?" "Yes. Our actual warships are much more powerful." The communication ended, leaving Commander Veltor to contemplate the terrifying implications of that statement. If a human science ship could destroy an entire Vorthan fleet in 4 minutes, what could their real warships do? The battlefield had become eerily quiet. Where once 12 mighty Vorthon cruisers had prowled through space in perfect formation, now only scattered debris and disabled ships remained. The Soul's Pride hung motionless in the center of the destruction, its hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. Commander Zorvac sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed the complete destruction of his fleet. 7 ships had been completely destroyed, their atoms scattered across space. 4 ships had been disabled and were now drifting helplessly. His own flagship was powerless, kept alive only by the mercy of the human captain. "Sir," his communications officer reported weakly, "we're receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it on screen." Captain June's image appeared, looking calm and professional despite having just accomplished the impossible. Behind him, Zorvac could see the human bridge crew working quietly at their stations, as if destroying an entire fleet was routine business for them. "Commander Zorvac, I hope you understand now that further resistance is pointless." June said. "Your fleet has been defeated. Your ships are disabled. Your crews are at my mercy." "What do you want from me?" Zorvak asked bitterly. "I want you to return to your empire and deliver a message. Tell your leaders that humanity exists. Tell them that we have technology beyond your current understanding. Tell them that we seek peaceful relations, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." They will not believe me. Then show them this. The main screen changed to display a complete recording of the battle. Zorvak watched himself leading the proud 7th Fleet into combat against a single enemy ship. He watched his vessels fire their most powerful weapons without effect. He watched human technology destroy his cruisers one by one with surgical precision. This recording contains detailed sensor data from the entire engagement, June explained. Your scientists will be able to analyze it and confirm that everything you report is true. Zorvak stared at the recording in fascination and horror. The battle had lasted exactly 3 minutes and 57 seconds from first shot to final surrender. In less than 4 minutes, the humans had demonstrated technology that made the Vorthon Empire look primitive by comparison. "How is such power possible?" he whispered. "Thousands of years of scientific development," June replied. "Humanity has been studying physics, chemistry, biology, and engineering for millennia. We've learned to harness forces that other species haven't even discovered yet." "What forces?" "Quantum mechanics, gravity manipulation, matter-energy conversion, dimensional folding, technologies that your empire won't develop for centuries, if ever." Zorvak felt a chill run down his spine. If the humans had mastered such advanced sciences, then the Vorthan Empire was hopelessly outmatched. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because I want your empire to make an informed decision about its future. You can choose to be our enemy, in which case you will face the full might of human military technology. Or you can choose to be our friend, in which case we might share some of our knowledge with you." "Share your technology?" "Selected technologies, yes. We could help your empire develop better medicine, more efficient energy systems, faster transportation. The universe is large enough for many species to prosper together." Commander Zorvak considered this offer carefully. The humans had just demonstrated overwhelming military superiority, but instead of demanding surrender or tribute, they were offering partnership. "What would you want in return?" he asked suspiciously. "Scientific exchange, cultural exchange, trade agreements, the same things any civilized species wants from its neighbors." "And if the Imperial Council refuses?" June's expression hardened slightly. "Then humanity will defend its interests. We won't attack your empire unprovoked, but we won't allow you to threaten our colonies or our citizens." "You have other ships like this one?" "Commander, this vessel is a science ship conducting routine exploration. It's not even armed with our most advanced weapons." "Not armed with your best weapons?" Zorvak couldn't hide his shock. The Soul's Pride carries defensive systems and light armament suitable for a research vessel. Our actual warships are far more powerful. Zorvak tried to imagine weapons more powerful than what he had just witnessed. The thought was terrifying. "How many ships does humanity possess?" he asked. "Enough," June replied simply. On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Yuna was monitoring communications from the disabled Vorthon vessels. "Captain, I'm picking up distress calls from the surviving ships. They're requesting permission to begin rescue operations." "Grant it," June replied. "Let them save who they can." "Sir," Min reported from her science station, I've completed my analysis of Vorthon technology. Their ships are built for intimidation rather than efficiency. Large, heavily armored, but with significant design flaws. What kind of flaws? Poor power distribution, vulnerable computer systems, outdated weapons targeting. Their technology is about 50 years behind current human standards. 50 years behind us, but still capable of conquering 3-star systems, June mused. That tells us something about the general level of technology in this region of space. Hana looked up from her tactical station. Captain, should we be concerned about other alien empires? If the Vorthans are considered advanced by local standards, what does that say about potential threats? It says we need to be careful about revealing too much of our capabilities too quickly, June replied. We've shown the Vorthans enough to convince them not to attack us, but we don't want to start an arms race across the entire galaxy, Wook chimed in from engineering. Captain, our systems performed perfectly throughout the engagement. All weapons functioned exactly as designed. The shield matrix absorbed 127% of normal capacity without strain. The quantum drive never even approached its limits. Excellent work, Wook. How long until we can continue our mission? We're ready to depart immediately, sir. In fact, the energy we absorbed from Vorthan weapons has given us more power than when we started. Tay added his report from the weapon station. All weapon systems are fully operational. Quantum torpedoes are reloaded and ready. Plasma lances are charged. Gravity disruptors are calibrated and standing by. Captain June nodded with satisfaction. His crew had performed magnificently in their first real combat situation. The Souls. Pride had proven that human technology was indeed superior to anything the Vorthons could field. Yuna, prepare a full report for Earth Command. Include all sensor data, tactical analysis, and diplomatic recordings. They need to know what we've encountered out here. Yes, sir. The report is already compiled and ready for transmission. Send it immediately, maximum priority. The message burst toward Earth at faster-than-light speed, carrying news that would reshape humanity's understanding of galactic politics. Commander Zorvak watched the rescue operations from his damaged bridge. The surviving Vorthon crews were working frantically to save their comrades from the disabled ships. So far, they had rescued nearly 2,000 personnel from the wreckage. Sir, his aide reported, the human ship is preparing to depart. Where are they going? Unknown, sir. They're not sharing their navigation data. Zorvak felt a mixture of relief and dread. Relief that the terrifying human vessel was leaving, and dread at the thought of reporting this disaster to the Imperial Council. Sir, we're receiving a final transmission from the human captain. Put it on screen. Captain June appeared one last time, his expression serious but not hostile. Commander Zorvak, I want to leave you with one final thought. Today you've seen what happens when diplomacy fails and violence becomes necessary. I hope our species never have to repeat this experience. As do I, Zorvak replied honestly. Remember that humanity seeks friends, not enemies. But we are prepared for either possibility. I will remember. Safe travels, Commander. I hope we meet again under better circumstances. The communication ended. Moments later, the soul's pride simply vanished, disappearing into faster-than-light. Travel without even a flash of light to mark its departure. Commander Zorvak was left alone with the wreckage of his fleet and the impossible task of explaining to his superiors how the mighty 7th Fleet had been destroyed in 4 minutes by a single alien science vessel. The age of Vorthan dominance in this region of space had ended. The age of humanity had begun. 3 weeks later, Commander Zorvak stood before the Vorthon Imperial Council in the Great Hall of the capital world. The massive chamber was filled with the most powerful leaders in the Empire, their yellow eyes fixed on him with expressions ranging from disbelief to anger. "You expect us to believe," Grand Admiral Kethra said slowly, "that a single alien ship destroyed 7 heavy cruisers and disabled 4 others in less than 4 minutes?" "Yes, Grand Admiral. The sensor recordings and battle data confirm every detail of my report." "Impossible. No single ship has such firepower." "With respect, sir, that is exactly the kind of thinking that led to our defeat. We assumed our technology was superior because we had never encountered anything better." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some members demanded proof. Others called for immediate retaliation. A few suggested that Zorvak was lying to cover up his own incompetence. Grand Admiral Kethra raised his hand for silence. "Show us this recording," he commanded. The lights dimmed, and the Great Hall's main display activated. For the next 4 minutes, the assembled leaders of the Vorthan Empire watched their most powerful fleet being systematically destroyed by a single human vessel. They watched Vorthan weapons fire harmlessly at the Soul's pride, their energy absorbed by impossible shields. They watched quantum torpedoes phase through matter and energy to destroy cruisers at the atomic level. They watched gravity itself being used as a weapon to redirect ramming attacks. When the recording ended, the chamber was completely silent. "This technology is beyond our understanding," Science Minister Velkan admitted reluctantly. "If this data is accurate, these humans have mastered forces we have barely begun to study. Then we must acquire this technology," War Minister Zorven declared. "We cannot allow any species to possess such advantages over the Empire." "How?" Zorvak asked bitterly. "By sending more fleets to be destroyed? The human captain made it clear that their ship was not even a warship. It was a science vessel. Their actual military ships are far more powerful." "Then what do you suggest?" Grand Admiral Kethra demanded. "Diplomacy. The humans offered peaceful relations. They could have destroyed my entire fleet, but they chose to show mercy. They could have demanded our surrender, but instead they offered technological exchange. You want us to negotiate with aliens who humiliated the Imperial Navy? I want us to negotiate with aliens who could have exterminated the Imperial Navy, but chose not to." The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted immediate military action. Others favored a defensive strategy. A few supported Zorvak's recommendation for diplomatic contact. Finally, Grand Admiral Kethra called for a vote. All in favor of immediate military retaliation? 3 hands were raised. All in favor of defensive measures only? 6 hands were raised. All in favor of diplomatic contact? 8 hands were raised. The Council has decided. We will attempt diplomatic contact with this human empire. Far from the Vorten capital, the news of the Soul's Pride's victory was spreading across known space. Alien merchants, traders, and explorers carried stories of the unknown human ship that had destroyed an entire Vorthan fleet in 4 minutes. On the trading station, Nexus Alpha, Captain June met with representatives from 6 different alien species. Word of Earth's existence had traveled quickly through the galactic communication networks. "Captain June," the Altarian ambassador began, "my government is very interested in establishing trade relations with Earth. We understand your people have advanced technology." "We're always open to peaceful trade," June replied. "What can Altaria offer in exchange?" "Rare minerals, exotic materials, scientific data about this region of space." Similar conversations were taking place across the galaxy. The news that humanity possessed superior technology had made Earth the most sought-after ally in known space, but not everyone was interested in friendship. In the dark reaches of the Hegemony Empire, warlord Draktor studied the recordings of the Soul's Pride's battle with growing anger. "These humans threaten the natural order," he told his advisors. "No single species should possess such power." "What do you recommend, Warlord?" his chief strategist asked. "Gather intelligence, learn everything we can about human technology and military capabilities. Then plan for war." "War, sir? Against enemies with such advanced weapons? Every technology has weaknesses. Every ship can be destroyed. We will find their vulnerabilities and exploit them." The hegemony began mobilizing its vast fleets in secret, preparing for a conflict that would determine the future of the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the war room of Earth Defense Command, studying reports from across known space. "How many first contact situations have we had in the past month?" she asked her aide. 47 official contacts, Admiral, dozens more unofficial approaches through various channels. All peaceful? So far, yes. Most species seem more interested in trade and technology exchange than conflict. Most species? Intelligence suggests the Hegemony Empire is taking a more aggressive stance. They appear to be building up their military forces. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. She had expected this reaction. When a new power emerged in galactic politics, there were always those who saw it as a threat rather than an opportunity. "Increase patrols along our border regions. Deploy additional science vessels for exploration and first contact missions, and begin construction of the new Aurora-class battleships." "Yes, Admiral. How many battleships should we build?" "All of them. If someone wants to test human military power, we'll be ready." Back on the Soul's Pride, Captain June reviewed the latest reports from Earth Command. His simple exploration mission had triggered a complete reshaping of galactic politics. "Any regrets, Captain?" Hana asked from her tactical station. "About defending our ship and crew? None at all. About the larger implications?" He paused to consider. "I hope we've started something positive rather than negative." "The Vorthon seem to be moving toward diplomatic contact," Yuna reported. "Their fleet movement suggests they're adopting a defensive posture rather than preparing for attack. That's encouraging. What about other species?" "Mixed reactions. Most want to be our friends. A few are maintaining a wait-and-see attitude. And according to intelligence reports, the Hegemony Empire is mobilizing for possible conflict." "The Hegemony?" Min looked up from her science station. "What do we know about them?" "Large territorial empire controlling 15 star systems, aggressive expansion policy, advanced but not cutting-edge technology. They've been the dominant military power in this region for over a century." "Until now," Tay commented from weapons. June nodded. "Until now. Look, how are our systems holding up after all the recent activity?" "Perfect condition, Captain. The quantum drive is running more efficiently than ever. The shield matrix has actually improved its performance after absorbing all that Vorthan energy, and our weapon systems are operating at peak efficiency." "Good. Because something tells me our adventures are just beginning." 3 months after the battle, the first official diplomatic meeting between Earth and the Vorthon Empire took place on the neutral trading station Harmony Point. Captain June represented humanity, while Grand Admiral Keth Ra led the Vorthon delegation. "Captain June," Keth Ra began formally, "the Vorthon Empire acknowledges the sovereignty of Earth and its colonies. We propose a non-aggression pact and trade agreement between our peoples." "The Earth government accepts your proposal," June replied. We also offer technological assistance in selected areas as a gesture of goodwill. What kind of technological assistance? Medical technology, agricultural improvements, energy efficiency systems, technologies that can improve life for your people without compromising security for either of our civilizations. Kethra was amazed. After suffering such a devastating military defeat, the Vorthons were being offered help rather than punishment. "Why are you being so generous?" he asked. "Because we meant what we said about seeking peaceful relations. The galaxy is large enough for many species to prosper. Competition and conflict only waste resources that could be better used for exploration and discovery." The negotiations continued for days, but the foundation for lasting peace had been established. The Vorthon Empire would become Earth's first major alien ally, setting a pattern that would be repeated dozens of times over the coming years. But not all first contacts would be so successful. 6 months later, the Soul's Pride encountered a hegemony battle fleet at the edge of human space. Warlord Draktor had come personally to test the humans' military capabilities. "Unknown human vessel," Draktor transmitted. "You are in hegemony space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." "Actually," Captain June replied calmly, "you're in Earth space. This system was claimed and colonized by humanity 3 months ago." "Impossible. The hegemony has controlled this region for decades." "Not anymore. I suggest you withdraw before this situation escalates." Draktor laughed harshly. "One ship against an entire battle fleet? You humans are either very brave or very stupid." "We've heard that before," June said with a slight smile. "It didn't end well for the last aliens who said it. The communication ended, and both sides prepared for battle. But this time, the Soul's Pride was not alone. 3 other human ships had joined the patrol, including the prototype battleship. "Aurora, all human vessels," June broadcast.